Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Tonight I am your host, Dave Scott, and it's great to have you along for the ride on this Monday, November 5th, Tuesday, November 6th, if you're on the East Coast or across the pond. Hope you had a great day and night and a weekend. We are glad to be here for you, broadcasting from the Great White North on top of the mountains of central British Columbia, right here at SOR headquarters. We welcome you nightly on the SOR Radio Network and Deep Talk Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You could rock out to Bumblefoot soon, shop at our brand new Spaced Out Radio store, read up on the SOR Newswire, and so much more. Tonight's show is brought to you by the YouTube channel Ensuho. Sebastian Martin brings high-quality messages to the masses. Go to spacedoutradio.com, click on the Ensuho banner, and subscribe to the channel today. You know, there's a real tie-in between the paranormal and life in general for most of us who believe. But for the factions that don't, there's a real debate and argument in both the evolutionists and the religious believers. So what's the debate? And how does it pertain to situations like life after death? Dr. Randy Wysong is one who is pushing for this research and the intellectual thinking that goes along with it. Dr. Wysong is the author of 9 books, numerous scientific articles, and decades of health newsletters. He has practiced veterinary surgery and medicine, taught college courses in human anatomy, physiology, and the origin of life. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, we're going to meet with Olaf Phillips from Paranoia Magazine for another edition of the SOR Newswire. Dr. Randy Wysong, welcome to Spaced Out Radio. How are you?
Just fine, Dave. Thank you for having me.
Very glad to have you here as well, my friend. Now, I do have to ask right off the bat, how does a veterinarian become so intrinsically involved in studying the field of the paranormal and how it pertains to everything from consciousness to evolution and religion?
Well, I think it began for me when I was young. I had the same questions about existence and what life was all about, and where did I come from, and why was I here, and where was I going, and those questions were, to begin with, of course, answered by traditional religion that I was in up until I got into my college years, and then I became convinced that evolution was a better answer to things, and so I cast aside the religion of my childhood and felt like I was being a little more intellectually sophisticated by believing in evolution. And then as time went on, I found that seemed to not really make a whole lot of sense, particularly as I got into more into the sciences and into medicine during my college years. And once I found that evolution did not seem to make sense, I really didn't know where to go from there, because I didn't want to go back to the religion that I left. That didn't seem correct, and so I just was kind of in a no man's land where I felt like there was something that had to account for all the complexity that I saw in the world, and yet I didn't really know where to take it from there. And then I thought, well, maybe since I was raised a Catholic, and Catholics are not really Bible-based, if you will. Of course, Catholicism is related to the Bible, but it's not something that you're taught as a Catholic. And I thought, well, maybe the truth was within the Bible, and so I got involved in a Bible-based religion, and kind of thought maybe that was the truth, until I looked deeper into that, and I found out that did not hold up either. So as I moved on, in just my adult life and professional life, I became quite skeptical of a lot of things. For example, in medicine, I discovered that the conventional medicine really does not address health, but rather is kind of disease-oriented, and I was disappointed in the way that problems were really not being solved with the conventional medical paradigm, and so I looked into more holistic approaches to health and to nutrition, and found that those were better answer. In fact, as I investigated that more, I found out that actually the number one killer today, at least in America, is modern medical care. Just the doctor error, hospital error, the problems with drugs and side effects and so forth. So my belief in conventional medicine turned out not to be true. And then as I did get into nutrition, I found out that the conventional wisdom regarding nutrition was not true, namely that we just could find out what was best for us by just nutrient analyses, and yet I found out that conventional processed foods, conventional wisdom regarding what we should and shouldn't eat was actually causing a lot of disease in itself. So I moved on from there. And so as I moved through adult life, I kept discovering that the conventional wisdom just plain seemed to fall by the wayside if you applied reason and looked at the facts and used your conscience and intuition and so forth. Those things did not seem to hold up. And then I explored further and went back to basically the questions of existence, the big questions. Where did we come from? Why are we here? Where are we going? And felt that I should be able to apply that same method to determine what the answer is to that. In other words, if I just stood back from all of the givens that are out there regarding the questions of existence, the big questions, and just use reason and applied facts, conscience, and intuition and experience, could I come up with the answers. And I did that, and I've spent over the past almost 20 or 30 years working through that, and I've come up with what I believe are ways that anybody can come up with truth on these matters by just applying what they have within themselves. And one of the things that I think spurred that on for me was just the discovery that of the paranormal. For example, listening to mediums be able to communicate with dead people and recount or describe things that would only be known by, say, the family of the dead person. And it seemed extremely convincing that some people were actually did have the ability to communicate with the dead. And then there's the near-death experiences and all the other paranormal things, which I'm sure that you've discussed on your program, which are very compelling and lead us to believe that there is something more to life than just this physical existence, and that we are something beyond just the 3-pound brain that exists in our head. So that's kind of in a nutshell where I've been, and I think it's a journey that maybe a lot of people take or attempt to take, and maybe they become frustrated with it. Perhaps they're just kind of buffaloed by existing ideas in religion or in evolution, and they just kind of stop and kind of go with the flow, whatever kind of belief or thinking that they think is maybe most appropriate and most accepted by most of their peers. I think that one of the well, I don't know if does that kind of answer your question. I could go on here, but does that kind of answer your question?
Absolutely it does. Absolutely it does.
The relationship with being a veterinarian is just the science, the ability with all of the science that's involved with over 8 years of college and chemistry and biology and genetics and medicine, and then in the actual practice of medicine and surgery, it gives a person a real sense of what the body is, what biology is, and its complexity and the wonder of it all. And I think that combined with just my interest in the subject, it equipped me to be able to get into the sciences and explore things that I would not have been able to explore as well if I had not had that educational background. Although I'm not, one of the things that I've tried to show in the book is that people don't really have to have that deep, any kind of a deep scientific understanding to come to understand, for example, that evolution is not true. And I think that's really a sticking point for a lot of people, that they find it difficult to open their mind and consider paranormal things because they just believe that atoms really explain our existence. And on the other hand, people who get deeply involved in religion find it difficult to open their minds and go beyond what their religious beliefs are because they believe that that's the truth.
Dr. Wysong, I want to ask you in regards to this because there seem to be a few more doctors than ever, that are looking into this realm of possibility, whether it's near-death experiences, life after death, whatever it could be. Do you feel that you are still a little bit of a rebel in this field compared to your professional compatriots because they're more of the scientific realm and you're looking down this land of woo-woo, as we call it in the paranormal, where this stuff, scientifically speaking, is not supposed to exist?
Are you saying that more doctors are moving in that direction?
I think they are. I think they are. But slowly but surely.
Yes, I agree. I think the sticking point for most of the higher educated people is the evolution, the notion that our existence is basically explained by chemistry, not by some sort of intelligent agency that began it all. Permit me, if I could, let me just talk about that a little bit, just so I can kind of help those in your audience who believe that evolution is just solid science, or believe maybe evolution is a mechanism by which their God has created life and so forth. Just to show you how you can how a person can prove that evolution is really not something that has not occurred. It's something that just could not occur, and you have to begin by just starting with one thing that we know is true. And if you drop all of the beliefs that are out there regarding religious beliefs, scientific beliefs, and so forth, if you drop all of those and you say, well, if I don't have access to those ideas, how could I come up with truth myself? Or what is true? What do we know is reliable, and what you end up with are the natural laws that exist. For example, we know that if we throw an apple into the air, it's going to fall to the ground. We know if we go take a car and go around a curve too fast, the inertia could push us out of control. We know that things just naturally get messy. Let me kind of talk about those laws more specifically. For example, the second law of thermodynamics basically says that in any system, in any closed system, things will become more disorganized, not more organized. And yet evolution would argue that beginning way back when, there were just atoms, starting with the Big Bang, and then from the Big Bang, the planets and the stars emerged, and the galaxies, and so forth. And then on Earth, there was just atoms, and from those atoms, the more complex molecules were formed. They would suggest that proteins were formed, and enzymes were formed, and nucleic acids like DNA and RNA were formed. And all of those things supposedly happened spontaneously. Yet proteins and DNA are incredibly complex molecules. And to suggest that atoms on their own just spontaneously grew in complexity and information content is totally contrary to the second law of thermodynamics, which is a truth that is inviolable. So the basic mechanism of evolution, simple to complex, cannot occur because the second law of thermodynamics says that it can't. Just to give an example of complexity, like for example the DNA that we have in our body. If you took the DNA molecules, and you stretched them out and put them end to end, they would span the solar system. They go across the solar system twice, just the DNA in our bodies. And the amount of information in the DNA in our bodies is equal to several quadrillion just average size books. In fact, one of the interesting things about DNA is that as computer science becomes more advanced and information continues to explode, they're trying to figure out how they'll be able to store the amount of information that's accumulating. And normal silicone-based computers really have a very limited capacity, and they're finding that the DNA molecule is a way to store huge amounts of information. For example, a teaspoon of DNA can hold all the information that's ever existed from the time of Plato on up until I think it's the year 2011. All of that can be held within the DNA that could be in just a teaspoon of it. So the information in biology and in organisms is something that is another way to know that evolution cannot occur. You can't get information spontaneously from just mixing letters together, and DNA is really basically a 4-letter alphabet language. So that's another law that tells us that evolution could not happen. Another law is what I call the Law of Impossibilities, based on probability, and that is that the chance of DNA or a protein that could have the activity of an enzyme, say, coming into existence by chance, is like one chance in 10, one chance in 1 followed by 168,000 zeros. and the chance of the most simple organism coming into existence, even according to the atheist Carl Sagan, he says that chance is one chance in one followed by 2 billion zeros. So it's basically impossible for these things to happen by chance, because there is a law in probability called the universal probability bound, which says that if anything has less chance than 1 in 1 followed by 150 zeros, it's impossible. So I just said that just forming a protein and a DNA would be one chance in 100 in 1 followed by 168,000 zeros. It's clearly an impossibility. Another law in biology is the Law of Biogenesis, which simply states that life can only come from pre-existing life. Now that's a law. It's a law because it's never been violated. Evolutionists would argue that life originally came from non-life, so they're claiming something that is totally contrary to a law that has never been proven wrong. So that's another proof, if you will, that life could not arise just spontaneous, according to the evolutionary atheistic sort of thinking. Then there is the problems in chemistry, just even forming some of the simplest biological or biochemicals necessary for life. We find that the argument from evolutionists is that water was, of course, first necessary for life to form, but all of the biochemical processes that make up life are what are called condensation reactions, to form a protein, to form fats and lipids, to form nucleic acids, to form carbohydrates. These are all condensation reactions, and if a condensation reaction is a reversible reaction, which means that if the reaction tries to occur in water, it's going to...
Dr. Wysong, I'm going to get you to hold on right there, my friend. We are going to step out for our first break of the night. Dr. Randy Wysong, Paranormal versus Evolution and Religion. More coming up right after this break on Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject, from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know little brother is watching.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything is an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight I am your host, Dave Scott. We are talking with author Dr. Randy Wysong tonight on Spaced Out Radio, his new book, Solving the Big Questions as If Thinking Matters, Volume 2. Dr. Wysong, welcome back to the show.
Hi.
It's always good to have you
here.
here.
Yes. Would you like me to kind of pick up where I left off there?
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that. You go right ahead, my friend. You go right ahead.
Audience. I was talking about chemistry as another way to prove that evolution would not be possible, the spontaneous formation of life. And I was mentioning that all of the chemicals that are basic to life, the nucleic acids, the DNA, the proteins, enzymes, the lipids, the fats, the carbohydrates, and so forth, they are all formed from atoms that combine together to form these more complex states. But these reactions are all what we call condensation reactions, which means that as for example, the components of an amino acid react together to form an amino acid, they yield water as a part of the reaction. But that reaction can't occur in water, and yet evolutionists would argue that evolution occurred once water was on the planet. What happens is that since the reaction, it would be occurring in a watery environment, there would be more water on the product side of the equation, if you will, and that water would drive the reaction back to the left toward the starting materials, not toward the more complex states. Also, speaking of amino acids, the amino acids that are found in life can exist in two forms. They're like right and left-handed versions of each other. They're called Enantiomers or stereoisomers. And if you look at your hand, if you just take your hands and you clasp them together like you're clapping, you'll see that they fit together perfectly. But if you try to put your right hand over top of your left hand, you'll see that they don't match. And that's the way that amino acids can be. They can either be in a right-handed form or a left-handed form. Well, in spontaneous reactions, if you just let the chemicals that form amino acids react together, they'll form basically an equal mixture of these right and left-handed forms, or the DNL forms. But yet the only amino acids that exist in life pretty much are just the L forms. So you have that question, that kind of that speaks to the notion that life could not occur spontaneously. And these DNL forms are really important because, not just the DNL forms, but the way that amino acid can combine together to form proteins. And proteins are not just strings of amino acids. At least the proteins that are found in the body, they are complex, three-dimensional things. In other words, as amino acids combine together to form a protein, that protein then folds on itself into a three-dimensional shape. And that shape is very necessary for the activity of that protein in the body. And the importance of that is, for example, the prion disease. Perhaps you've heard of the spongiform encephalopathies like mad cow disease and chronic wasting disease in deer and sheep scrapie, and in humans there's Kuru and fatal insomnia and Creutzfeldt Jakob disease, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia, and several neurodegenerative diseases are now believed to be a result of these prions. And prions are nothing but proteins that are folded in the wrong way. And yet, when a protein folds, there's not just one way it can fold. There's thousands of ways that protein can fold. And if it doesn't fold in exactly the right way, then the protein, say, would not have enzymatic reaction in the body, and the body cannot operate without active enzymes. And so what happens in these prion diseases is just they just don't fold properly. Just that simple little thing can result in disease. And even the sequence of amino acids is critical. Like, for example, just 2 amino acids that are wrong out of 574 in hemoglobin can result in sickle cell anemia. So life is just finely tuned. It's just, I mean, that's one of the things that I think that I'm so glad that I was able to have the scientific training that I did to come to understand just how incredibly complex the body is, and how improbable it would be that this could come together just through some kind of spontaneous action. So so those are the kinds of laws, if you will, that evolution just can't overcome. It's not a matter of whether evolution did occur. It's a matter of the fact, the question of whether it could occur. And the laws of science simply states it just can't occur. And if you ask any evolution, one of the things that kind of gets me is that evolutionists talk a big story about the spontaneous formation of life, and that there is no necessity for any kind of mind behind it all, and no intelligence responsible for it. And you ask them, well, why have scientists never created life? I mean, we've had hundreds of years of the best brains in the world, and yet life has never been created in a laboratory. Now, does that seem strange? It should seem very strange to people. And so I think that's one of the things that people need to keep in mind when they're thinking about evolution. Is it's easy to think, well, yeah, since life is made up of atoms, and we see that atoms can, chemists in the lab can create amino acids and more complex chemicals, then it's easy to assume that maybe evolution did occur and these atoms just spontaneously came together. Yet there's no evidence that complex things like this could ever occur spontaneously. Another interesting thing to think about in that regard is even if scientists in the lab were able ever to create a simple living organism, say a one-celled organism, and they've been working for decades, if not hundreds of years, trying to do such a thing, would they have proven that no intelligence was necessary in the beginning? I mean, that would discount the intelligence that they used in order to do it. So just the fact that intelligence would be necessary in a laboratory to create life proves that intelligence would have been necessary in the beginning. Do you have any thoughts or questions on any of those? I don't know if I've explained that.
Well, I think you've painted a really good picture on the scientific aspect, and we'll get into the religious side in a minute here. But as a man who grew up with faith, but literally grew into adulthood as a part of the scientific community, where do you stand on either the theory of evolution or the theory of creation?
Well, I mean, as I've mentioned, evolution just is not an appropriate explanation for the existence of life. Not only the beginning of life, but even if life were formed, that life is not going to complexify on its own. Single-celled organisms are not going to become more complex multicellular organisms, and multicellular organisms are not going to become worms, and worms are not going to evolve into little-legged insects, and insects are not going to evolve into small mammals, and little mammals aren't going to evolve into us. That's all going against the tide of nature, the very laws of nature, which says that complex things become less complex. They don't become more complex. And we experience that in our everyday life. I mean, it's a struggle in life to keep anything orderly. I mean, if we don't pay constant attention to the house, it gets messy. If we don't take care of our car, it breaks down. Everywhere we look, there is this backward flow from complexity into non-complexity or simplicity, and that's exactly the opposite of what evolutionists say is happening. One thing I wanted to mention is just if you wanted to look out into nature and just at some of the things out there that are just unimaginable. There's things like the spider's web and the migration of birds over thousands of miles, and there's the timing of fruits, all of this, the timing of the emergence of the secondary teeth, the timing of puberty, the timing of estrus in animals. There's the ant can lift 50 times its own weight. Insects can fly at 70 miles an hour and beat their wings 63,000 beats a second. There's a bombardier beetle that can spray 212-degree spray to defend itself. There's bacteria that are found in polar regions and in geysers and nuclear reactors. And one of the makes you wonder if supposedly we evolved from one-celled organisms, and bacteria have the ability to survive in polar regions and in geysers and nuclear reactors. Why would they ever find the need to evolve into creatures that would never be able to survive under those kinds of circumstances? And so I recently did a YouTube video, and if people would like to go there, if they would search on YouTube as if thinking matters, they would see the video on this where I talk about a small little insect called the issus. It's a plant hopper, and this plant hopper has let me back up on that. Let me ask the question: if you were walking on the beach, and this is kind of the way I explain it in the YouTube video, if you were walking on the beach and you looked down and you saw a couple of gears, toothed gears, and the gears were like you picked up, there were two separate gears, you picked them up and you found that they would perfectly intermesh, and you looked off to the side in the sand and you also found a bolt with a nut, and you picked those up and you took the nut and you found out that the nut would screw onto the bolt. Would you conclude that those things that you found in the sand could be there or could have arisen from just spontaneous processes? Would you conclude that two perfectly intermeshing gears and that a threaded bolt that a nut screws onto could come to be just on their own, given, I don't care what you want to give, millions of years or whatever, any kind of a circumstance, that kind of machinery, if you will, could come into existence by chance? You would certainly look at that and you would say no. In fact, archaeologists do digs and they find just chipped stones. And for example, the Oldowan chipped stones found in Africa, it's actually hard as you look at those stones. It's hard to see that they're anything but stones. But archaeologists are able to determine basically the way that they're chipped, that these were made by humans. That intelligence was necessary to form these chipped stones, and they were the original tools that some people used in ancient times as knives. So if archaeologists would say that just a chipped stone would mean that intelligence was necessary to form it, we'd certainly say, well, that kind of intelligence would be necessary to form perfectly intermeshing gears and a bolt with a nut that screws onto it. So we'd have to. Would you agree with me on that, Dave? That if you saw those kinds of things in the ground, you would conclude that that intelligence was responsible for them?
Could very well, but I mean, knowing the amount of tinfoil I wear, Dr. Wysong, I'd probably say it was aliens.
Okay. Well, so let me just say here, getting back to this Issus plant hopper. It's a little bug, and if you look at its hind legs, you'll find that those legs operate by means of perfectly intermeshing gears. And microscopically, you can see those gears, and I have those shown on that YouTube video. And then there's a weevil called the Trigonopterus weevil, and in its hip joint, it has a bolt and nut arrangement where the threads are in the pelvis and the bolt threads are in the top part of the leg, and that leg screws in and out of the threads in the pelvis of that weevil. And so my point here is that if we would look in the sand and find gears and find nuts and bolts, and we can conclude that intelligence was responsible, and if archaeologists find chipped stones and conclude that they speak to intelligence, certainly we would say that the gears in the Issus plant hopper and the bolt and nut found in the Trigonopterus would speak to intelligent design as well. Even the bacterium E. coli, which we hear a lot about because of some certain varieties of that can cause disease. That E. coli bacterium moves about by a flagellum. It's a whip-like apparatus on the end of that bacterium, and that's looking at that. We find that that's really what's known as an acid-driven rotary motor, and it whips around at 20,000 times a second. That kind of motor did not come into existence until like the 18th, 19th century.
Right.
So if those kinds of things exist in nature, there's no reasonable way that we could conclude that some kind of intelligence was necessary for their formation.
Right. We got about 2 minutes left before we need to go to break here. And in regards to, the evolution side, how do you think this ties to the paranormal? Are we seeing any type of lineage between the two?
Well, I think that we can come to the conclusion that intelligence was responsible for the universe and for the existence of life, but that intelligence is obviously beyond this physical realm. It's not something we see or understand, and it is of an intelligence that is to create something as complex as the reality that we see that intelligence has got to be just certainly incomprehensible, but certainly an intelligence. And it speaks to other. And I think that opens the mind. Once you understand that there is that intelligent other out there that's responsible for us and our reality in the universe, it opens the mind to the idea that we could be other than just matter, that there is this realm that is beyond really comprehension, that speaks and supports the notion of the paranormal. Does that make sense to you?
It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. And coming up in hour 2, I really want to get into the religious side of everything, because I want to start tying in the paranormal and how you think it all works and how it all comes together with life after death and what you've been able to find out. I think that's completely interesting because, to get a scientific viewpoint and vantage point of that is important for our audience, because we always go down these really long roads of the paranormal, man. And maybe sometimes we don't dig as deep as we probably should in it because we're caught up in all the hype and the fun, spooky stories of ghosts and aliens and Bigfoot. And I think you're going to be able to enlighten us. I really do.
No, I'll certainly try.
Absolutely. Dr. Wysong, I'm going to get you to hold on here because we are going to go to our break at the top of the hour. Dr. Randy Wysong is our guest tonight. His website is asifThinkingMatters.com. If you want to check out his new book and his research, you're listening to Spaced Out Radio. We'll be back with more right after this.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, BUMBLEFOOT.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? Then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Thanks for being with us. Tomorrow night on the show, Geraldine Orozco is back with another esoteric edition of The Spiritual You. We get going at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. We welcome back everyone listening in on the SOR Radio Network at Deep Talk Radio. Also, don't forget, all of our archives are on youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, free for you to listen in on. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Nonpareil. Nonpareil is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot, shop at our store, which is being rebuilt at this time. It'll be up and running soon, I promise. And you can read up on our newswire, the SOR Newswire, on our website, put together by the illuminous Captain Shirk, and so much more. Tonight we are talking with Dr. Randy Wysong. He's got a new book out called Solving the Big Questions, As If Thinking Matters, Volume 2. And we appreciate the doctor coming on the show to talk about paranormal, life after death, consciousness, how it ties to evolution, as well as religion. Dr. Wysong, welcome back.
Glad to be here.
In hour number 2, we usually get to some questions from our audience in the chat rooms here, and I'd like to be able to ask a couple of those before we move on, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure.
Awesome. Let's get to Uncle Dale here. Uncle Dale is asking, why is an intelligent designer necessarily beyond the physical plane, in your opinion?
Well, because there is nothing within the physical plane, if you will, that can explain the formation of life. In other words, that intelligent designer is also responsible for creating natural laws, which incidentally, you never hear an evolutionist explain the origin of natural laws. They just totally avoid that. But those natural laws exist. They came from somewhere, and those natural laws, so to speak, hem in the physical world. In other words, if the intelligent designer was trying to form life using the natural laws, he would be violating, or it or she or whatever the form of that designer is, would be violating its own natural laws. As I've explained, those the natural laws just preclude the spontaneous formation of life. And plus the complexity of life is beyond basically comprehension. If you just take any part of the body, one of the things that's interesting when evolutionists talk about their so-called proofs for evolution, well, they say, well, the small ancient primates gave rise to more complex primates, which gave rise to eventually humans. And why did that happen? Well, supposedly because our brain got bigger, or we needed a bigger brain because we came down out of the trees, and we were able to hunt better with a bigger brain. And those are all just, so to speak, fanciful stories. There's never an explanation of the nuts and bolts of it all. In other words, an evolutionist never, in any evolutionary text, even in journals that are called things like evolutionary biochemistry or evolutionary biology, do you ever see a step-by-step, at the biochemical level, explanation how anything could have come into existence? Like, say, even just a cell or an organelle within a cell. They never explained step-by-step, biochemically, how that could have come into existence, or how a single cell would become a multicellular organism, step by step. I'm not talking just generalized terms like, a multicellular organism came to be evolutionary because it was found to be more fit for the environment. That's not an explanation. They need to get into the nuts and bolts of the biochemistry. Exactly, biochemically, how would you get from a simple cell into a multicellular organism? It's impossible for them to explain such a thing. But I'm kind of maybe off field from the question, but I think the basic answer to that question, and I think the question is really, is it possible that a creator used evolution to form life? And as I said, that creator would have to be violating its own natural laws in order for that to occur. And one of the things that we see in nature and in reality and is that things are true, reliable, repeatable, and they're consistent. So the notion that the creator would do that doesn't really make any sense.
All right, let's move on to the next question here, if you don't mind. And this one we are going to go to New Joe in the chat room, who's asking, Dr. Wysong, what is it exactly you're saying, then, is the origin of life?
Well, that intelligent causation. That's what I'm saying. Is that just like what I was mentioning, that you walk on the beach, you find intermeshing gears, you find a nut and bolt, you assume that intelligence is responsible for it. When we look at life and all the machinery in life, and remember I mentioned the Trigonopterus and the Issus and the gears and the nuts and bolts and those little insects, that speaks to intelligence. But yet life, if you look inside just a simple cell, there's millions of intermeshing biochemical gears, if you will, that are occurring and moving, some moving at lightning speed in order for that simple cell to continue to exist. All of those millions of intermeshing components is really machinery, and you don't get that kind of machinery by just random events. When you see machinery, when you see functional complexity like this, it speaks to intelligence. So we know that intelligence is behind our reality, is behind us, and is behind the universe. What that intelligence is another question that we can get into later, but I think what I wanted to begin with here is just to help your audience understand that the complexity, the universe, and life cannot be accounted for by just spontaneous chemistry, that there is intelligence behind it.
Let's move on here to Mr. Skeptic's question for you. And he is asking what it is you know of and think of, or can you refute the Miller-Urey experiment?
Well, those were, so to speak, origin of life experiments where they where they duplicated, or at least attempted to duplicate what they believed was the early Earth environment, and then they did the equivalent of lightning bolts in a flask, if you will, with those early components, and once that happened, when they took that that spark discharge and ignited it in this flask with these early components, they were able to get some amino acids forming. And so that was taken to suggest that life could could spontaneously evolve, but for the reasons that I mentioned earlier, I mean, there's no question that chemicals can combine, or atoms can combine to form amino acids, but there are thousands of different kinds of amino acids that can be formed. It's not whether the chemicals can combine to form amino acids. It's whether those amino acids would take on the characteristics that we see in life. Like I mentioned before, the amino acids that were formed in those experiments would be a combination of the D and L forms, whereas only the L's are found in living organisms. And those amino acids do not spontaneously combine together to form proteins, like, for example, an enzyme, which is absolutely critical for life, because a DNA cannot form without the existence of an enzyme at the same time, but yet an enzyme can exist without a nucleic acid there to code for it. So then we could also say that the other argument that I've already mentioned is that, if scientists are able, to form life, which is a trillion times beyond just forming an amino acid, as in the Miller-Urey experiments, if scientists were able to set up an experiment or design an experiment whereby such a thing could happen, it would only prove that intelligence was necessary to do it in the first place.
I want to get into the religious aspect of this, because obviously creationism says that the Earth is only a few thousand years old, not millions upon millions of years old. And, of course, it was brought on by God. God created the earth and the heavens, and it took 7 days to create everything. And, of course, there's the spiritual aspect that goes along with that as well. In regards to the paranormal and your new book, Solving the Big Questions as If Thinking Matters, Volume 2, how do you tie the two together? Because whether it's evolution or whether it's the religious aspects of life after death, the paranormal, there is a lot of debate that goes on.
Well, I think it's important to understand that everything that I've discussed so far in terms of demonstrating that there is an intelligence behind our reality, and that evolution is not only not true, it can't be true, has nothing to do with religion. Notice that I didn't allude to any scripture.
Right.
I just looked out into the world and looked to natural laws, and you can conclude that there was an intelligent creator without any reference to religion. With regard to so people usually create a dichotomy in their mind. They think that they either have to believe in evolution, or if they don't believe in evolution, then they got to believe in a religion. And religionists believe that the only option or the only alternative to their religion would be evolution and atheism. There's a third option that nobody seems to consider, and that is intelligent causation without regard to religion. And so that's where just reason and evidence and logic can take us, is that there is an intelligence behind our reality, behind our existence. And then I guess if we want to try to take that further and say, well, do religions now represent that intelligence? The problem with religion is that all religions are man-made. Nobody can prove anything to the contrary. Religions did not begin with a Bible or a Koran that dropped out of heaven into all of our laps. religion is a created thing by humans in an attempt to understand and describe and to harness the indescribable. And one of the problems with religion is that most of the religions that we have today, they all began thousands of years ago, when there was none of the understanding of the world that we have today, and the world was a scary place. I mean, people had no idea what the sun was. You know, it came up every day and it seemed to travel across the sky, and then it disappeared, and then there was the night and the terror of the night and the predators, and then the sun would come back up, and there could be tornadoes and terrible storms and floods and droughts and all of these things. People did not have any understanding of what on earth was going on here, and so they ascribed these unknowable things to a creator. And that creator took on the form of humans. They did what is known as anthropomorphize the creator. In other words, make it human-like. And then that creator, of course, then started writing books, and then all of the religions emerged from there. And the thing is about the religions that we have today is that I found as I explored Bible religion is that I think the thing that really was disturbing to me was that when I discovered that the Bible is not a unique first book of religion. In fact, all of Judaism, all of the Old Testament, all of the doctrines, all of the basic doctrines of Judaism, as mentioned in the Old Testament, and the doctrines of Christianity mentioned in the New Testament, those doctrines all predated the Bible. In Minoan, Egyptian cultures, the Indus Valley, the Etruscans, the Greeks, the Romans, all of those had religious beliefs that were incorporated into the Judeo-Christian Bible. And so, and I'm talking everything, like the idea of a Savior, of a crucifixion, of redemption, of the cross, of a religious figure that did miracles and so forth. All of those things predated the Bible, and the writers of the Bible basically gathered ideas from the cultures around them and created the Judeo-Christian religion. And most people think that the Bible, the original Bible, goes right back to the time of Jesus and the apostles and so forth. But the fact of the matter is that there are no originals of the Bible. There's nothing that exists. There's only copies of errors, of copies of errors, and so forth that date hundreds of years after the time of Jesus. So even at the time of Christianity, the early Christians were not in agreement as to what Christianity even was. There was Docetism, there's Origenism, there's Monophysitism. All of these sorts of varieties of Christianity existed in the earliest records of Christianity, where they believed in things like reincarnation, and that Jesus was not a physical person, but simply a spirit. And they did not, some of these early Christian religions did not believe in original sin. They believed in free will and self-redemption, but what happened with religion is that it was brought into a state religion by primarily by Constantine in about 325, where he was a Roman emperor and basically codified Christianity and decided what was going to be in the official doctrines of Christianity and what was not. And anyone who disagreed with him, like, for example, the people who believed in reincarnation or that people were responsible for their own redemption and not a savior, these people were branded as heretics and either banned or killed. And so that's kind of where religion began, and it's I think for those who believe that they have a unique religion, particularly as related to the Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and even Islam is a derivative of those religions. They don't have an original religion. These religions are all amalgams of previous pagan religions, which we now consider to be just basically mythologies.
We got about 90 seconds here before we got to hop out for break at the bottom of the hour. So in the next half hour, I'm going to hit you up on about the life after death aspect then, because I'm assuming through all this in your studies, you do have some questions as to whether or not life after death exists. Is there ghosts? Is there consciousness as you're making the transition, near-death experiences? I'm sure this is all stuff you have looked into yourself.
Sure. We can certainly talk about that.
Excellent, excellent. While we're waiting here, because, like I said, we got about a minute before we have to go to break, do you feel then that the religious aspect of everything has really blown out of proportion I hate to use the word evolution at this point, but the evolution of spiritualism for what we have learned about this planet and its timeline?
I think both evolution and religion clouds the minds of people, because these are fixed beliefs that people have to hold. It's not something they can derive on their own. It's something that's pushed to them by other people, other people's ideas, and people need to reach within to their own sense of reason, their own experiences, their consciousness, and so forth.
Right, and on that note, I'm going to get you to hold on, Dr. Wysong. Dr. Randy Wysong is our guest tonight. We're going to get into life after death, paranormal experiences, and more on Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, BUMBLEFOOT.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch. Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. Tonight we rounded the halfway point of tonight's show. We welcome back Dr. Randy Wysong as we are taking a look at a lot of really cool things in his studies between science, evolution, religion, and the paranormal realm. It all adds up. His website, if you want to check it out, is asifThinkingMatters.com. asifThinkingMatters.com. Dr. Wysong, welcome back.
Hi, Dave.
Good to have you here. You know, right before the break, I was mentioning a few topics here in regards to life after death, paranormal, ghosts, spirits, consciousness. How do you think that all ties in to what we are experiencing on a daily basis with the battle between evolution and religion?
Permit me just to continue with just something very briefly here.
Sure.
With regard to, and for people who are wondering, you know, is the Bible or is another holy book a product of this intelligence that's responsible for natural laws and our reality and our existence? These holy books can be measured very simply, and that is, are they consistent with themselves? In other words, do they contradict themselves? Are they consistent with reality? In other words, do they fit with the real world as we know it? And are they ethical and moral? And most people look at holy books as a place where they can derive morality. And I think of people like, look, for example, at the Bible and test it by, like, for example, like I said, the test of just does it make sense? Does it fit with reality? But yet you got a story of Jonah living in a fish for 3 days and in an ark holding all the creatures, representatives of all the creatures on a boat for, the ark holding them for 5 months. And that in the time of Joshua, the sun stood still. And statements in the Bible that the earth has skirts and edges and ends and corners. And that disease is cured by the blood of turtle doves, or is caused by demons, or curing can happen if you get dipped in water 7 times, and men who lap water like a dog are the best soldiers. And a plague that killed 24,000 people was stopped by thrusting a spear into a woman's genitals. And a dead person comes to life and sneezes 7 times because a prophet laid on him. Those things are just inconsistent with reality as we know it. And then I think the greatest test for religious books is, are they just and ethical? And if you could just consider the Bible, people tell stories about to their children about how the firstborn of all of Egypt were killed, and how everyone in the world, all the babies and children and animals and stuff, were killed by a flood, except for one family. And the Bible says that the the death of all of that caused a sweet savor for this Bible God. And it could go on and on about all of the things that are obviously unethical and immoral and would astonish even the ethics of a child. For example, death is indicated in the Bible for swearing, or for homosexuality, for working on the Sabbath, or if you curse your father or mother, for adultery, and if a wife is shown to be non-virgin. All of these things we today would consider those highly unethical, highly immoral, and just atrocities, and yet people would suggest that the Bible is the source of goodness and morality and ethics. The fact that those things are in the Bible brands the Bible as not of the Creator's hand, because the Creator is true, is consistent, is ethical, and those are things that are inconsistent with that kind of character. So I just mentioning this again because I think people need to if they believe that religion is the true explanation of reality, they need to take a good look at their religion, its origins, and certainly with the internet, people can just search anything and get a wealth of information to truly get informed and make that decision in an intelligent and informed way, rather than just following what someone tells them. Now, moving on to what you're talking about in terms of how this all relates to, say, life after death, to the paranormal and so forth. We can, again, just using reason, we can ask the question, what are we really? I mean, if you just think about your body, and then you start, and if you imagine taking your body apart, and you could take it apart. You've got the organs, and then you've got the tissues, and then you have the cells, and then inside the cells you have molecules, and then you have atoms inside the molecules, and then in the atoms you have protons and neutrons and electrons, and then inside of those you have quanta, and then you get into the quantum world, which is an invisible world. And if you just keep thinking, though, you realize that if you keep going, you're going to end up with basically nothing. So just using reason, we can understand that our physical bodies, which we think are the true reality, because we're kind of locked into these physical dimensions that we find ourselves here in on Earth, we think that this is the reality, whereas really what is here is basically invisible. For example, if you just take one atom and you put make the nucleus the size of a pea, and you put that pea on the 50-yard line of a football field, the electrons would be clear out in the parking lot. So there's a huge amount of space between the nucleus and those electrons. And so if you took all that space out of all the atoms that are in your body, you would be able to fit on the head of a pin. But that's condensing all of the atoms so that there is no space between the electrons and the nucleus. If you then reduce that further, that ends up being basically nothing. So the point is that matter, as we see it, is an illusion. Underneath, we are basically space. We are like a vibration. Quantum mechanics indicates that at the most fundamental level, as far as they've been able to explore, we're more like a tune than little bits or pieces of matter. So if that's what we really are, is something that is really not material, but is mostly space and some kind of quantum vibration, then there's no reason to believe that could not continue to exist. So one of the things that I think is really telling about what or who we are is the existence of free will. We all know that we have free will. Now, I understand that atheists and evolutionists have to kind of deny that we have free will. And the reason that they have to deny that we have free will is that they can't ascribe free will to the chemicals that comprise us. But the fact is that we do have free will. And the fact that we have free will proves also that we are other. And how do we know that that free will is not something that's just a product of the brain? It's because if you reduce the brain to its elementary components, to the atoms that comprise it, atoms don't have free will. Neither do molecules have free will. They obey the natural laws of chemistry. They don't have a choice about what they do. They just are robotic, if you will, obeying the natural laws. Whereas free will does not obey natural laws. We have the ability to make any decision that we want to make during the course of a day. There's something like 60,000 thoughts that kind of magically appear in our brain during the course of a day that we decide upon. Are we going to act on this thought, or what are we going to do with regard to another thought, and so forth? These are things that speak to the notion that we are other than just matter and cannot be reduced to the atoms in our brain. There are some interesting experiments that speak to the notion that other that we are is mind, if you will, the I, our essence, who we are. For example, there is, if you take, experiments have shown that if you take leukocytes from the blood of a person, leukocytes are the white blood cells, the immune cells in our blood, and you put those in a test tube and you hook those up to electrodes, similar to the way that you would hook a person up to a lie detector machine, and then you chart what's going on in that test tube with these electrodes. If you take the leukocytes from a person, put them in a test tube, and put the electrodes in the test tube, and then you take the person that had that from which the leukocytes came, and they are miles away, or basically they could go anywhere on the planet. If they're shocked in some way, like for example, they're shown scenes in a movie that are highly disturbing or shocking, the reading on the leukocytes will register that shock, even though the person is miles away. In another experiment, they had philodendron plants in a room, and they had 2 pots of philodendrons, flowers, and they brought in I can't remember, I think it was six people into the room, and one of those 6 people went over to one of the philodendron plants and took the plant and threw the plant on the floor, broke the vase it was held in, tore up the plant, stomped on the plant. In other words, murdered the philodendron plant. And then all 6 people left the room. Then they hooked the remaining philodendron plant up to electrodes, similar setup as was done with the leukocytes, kind of lie detector arrangement where they were able to chart the electrical activity on the philodendron. And so they had the remaining philodendron hooked up, and then they brought in each of the 6 people, one at a time, into the room where the philodendron was. And when the murderer of the first philodendron came in, the recorder jumped, indicating that the philodendron reacted to the person that murdered the other philodendron in the room. So these are things that indicate that there is mind and consciousness beyond just the physical. And of course you have, I think in your program, talked about many things like near-death experiences and mediumship, all of the things, clairvoyance and precognition.
Right.
I mean, these are things are things that everyone have experienced. Like you receive a telephone call and you thought, well, geez, I was just thinking about that person. Or you look in your email and, geez, I haven't seen that person in 2 years, and all of a sudden I've got an email and I was just thinking about them this morning. And sometimes you can guess the time, and so there are many things just in our day-to-day lives that indicate that we're not just tied to the material world. So all of these things are indications that we are other, that there is other than this physical reality. I mean, the mere fact that all of us know, for example, that there's such a thing as infinity, both, in time, I guess, if you're thinking about linear time, and in space, if you just, it's the idea of infinity is just incomprehensible to us, because we think, well, geez, there's got to be an end somewhere, but then wait, if there's an end, what is that, a brick wall or whatever, but there's a depth to the brick wall, and then what's on the other side of the brick wall, and you just keep going. Those are things that we just simply cannot comprehend, and yet we know they exist. And so the very fact that there are these incomprehensible things that we know exist tells us that there is something out there that is beyond just this physical realm that we're locked into because we have physical bodies and we're in a physical universe. Any questions related to that? Or?
I understand the consciousness aspect of everything. I think we've discussed that a plethora of times on this show in regards to that free will and the energy just keeps on going. So do you then believe, as we got about 3.5 minutes here before we got to go to break at the top of the hour, do you believe that there is a notion of a heaven or a hell or someplace that our spirit goes after we are done in this human incarnation?
Well, I think that the kinds of things I've been speaking about tell us that we are not locked into this physical realm. This physical realm is just one aspect of a reality that is infinite. There are dimensions beyond ours. So, these kinds of things tell us that there is something more or other to us, and so I think that's I guess where just reason and logic and looking at evidence takes us. But then if we want to get into what would that realm be like, and so on and so forth, that's when all we can do is refer to people who say that they are able to communicate with the dead, or we can refer to the. Incidentally, now we're talking about not really something that we individually can reason on, or we can look at at evidence or put in a laboratory and test, but now we're talking about experiential evidence. And one thing, one of the most certain things that we can ever have in our own lives is experience. Nobody can ever argue us out of an experience that we have. That is a reality to us. Now, if we haven't had the experience, we can listen to the experiences of others in order to gain some insight into the realm on the other side of this physical reality. And so that would mean that we could consult with mediums, we could consult with people who have had near-death experiences, we could consult with experiences from past life regressions. These are all things that give us a glimpse of what reality is like on the other side, and affirm what we already suspicion, but just using reason and the evidence that we can gather ourselves, that life continues beyond this life, that death is simply a change or a comma, not a period.
And I appreciate that. And we're going to get another 30 minutes of you, Dr. Wysong, right after this break on Spaced Out Radio. Dr. Randy Wysong is our guest tonight on the show. His latest book, if you want to pick it up, you can go to his website and find it there, or on all major online publications like Amazon. It is Solving the Big Questions as If Thinking Matters, Volume 2. Now, he is an author of 9 different books. This is his latest, and that's what we're talking about tonight on the Mighty SOR. His website, asifThinkingMatters.com, so make sure you check it on out. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio right after this.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother Is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, BUMBLEFOOT.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? Then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to the third hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Great to have you with us. Tomorrow night on the show, it's the Spiritual You. It happens the first Tuesday of every month with Geraldine Orozco from Bay Area Meditation. 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern. We get going at spacedoutradio.com. We welcome back everyone listening in on the SOR Radio Network and Deep Talk Radio. Also, don't forget, all of our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Nonpareil. Nonpareil is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets a password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot soon, shop at our brand new Spaced Out Radio store, and we have a great news section led by Captain Shirk, the SOR Newswire. Click on the news as well and give it a read. For the final time tonight, we introduce Dr. Randy Wysong. His website is asifThinkingMatters.com. His latest book is Solving the Big Questions, As If Thinking Matters, Volume 2, the second edition. Dr. Wysong, thank you so much for being on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Very much appreciate you coming in talking about this very, very difficult subject.
You're welcome, Dave.
I want to start with a question from our audience, if you don't mind. And this one comes from Catherine, who is asking in regards to the creator. Do you believe there is some sort of creator of everything out there?
I believe that, yes, I do. I think that there is something responsible for this incredible complexity that exists and for each of us. But I don't think of the creator the way I used to think of it when I was in religion, and that is an anthropomorphized or humanized creator. And rather, it's a creator with capabilities and essence that is beyond our comprehension. I think a frustrating point to me. I guess I would love to understand what the creator is, but I have to admit at the same time that I'm expecting to do something that is simply not within this physical human capability any more than we could expect an ant to understand calculus. We are not going to be able to understand who the creator is. We can understand things about the creator, like from observing the natural world, but we can't really understand who it is, its essence, if you will. And I think that problem is something that I think people have to come to grips with. We just simply can't know a realm that this physical reality prevents us from being able to understand. And I go back. I like to use the analogy of infinity. We know infinity exists, but we can't comprehend it. We can't comprehend how something can go just endlessly and never have an end, never have a stopping point. And that's because we, in this physical reality, we think in terms of beginnings and ends. stops and starts, the linear flow of time. And that's not what the underlying reality is. And I think trying to just understand and harness the Creator and get to know the Creator like a pal or a father or someone we can talk to who talks to us is kind of a diversion from our real responsibility, and that is looking within to something that is created within us, and that's our conscience. And that is, what is our conscience telling us to do with our life? What is good, what is bad, and our duty is to try to make those right decisions. That's the thing that I think that we're here to do, to grow from, and just trying to harness the Creator and come up with a set of rules that the Creator is giving us, and then fulfilling those rules diverts us from looking inside to our own conscience, which was created within us for a reason. We were also given free will for a reason, and that is to be able to look within and make our own moral and ethical decisions, and by doing that become better people. Which I think takes us to the question that people normally have: if there is a Creator, why is there all the misery in the world? And
right.
What people don't seem to understand is that the Creator is another word for the Creator is truth. In fact, I think of the Creator as truth. So we have an obligation. If you want to know the Creator, then you pursue truth. To the degree that we come to know truth, we know the Creator, because the Creator is the source of that truth. But in any case, a lot of the misery that occurs in our world is something that we bring on ourselves because we have free will. If every time difficulty arose, the Creator stepped in to save us, that would remove the test, if you will, or the lesson that would be embodied in that difficulty, and we wouldn't learn anything from it. If we knew that every time that there was a problem, someone's going to step in to save us, how do we ever grow ethically and become better people? So and the other thing is that the world is a world of two things. It's a world of natural law, predictable natural laws, and it's a world of free will. And out of those two things can come catastrophes. If natural laws were not obeyed, for example, if volcanoes never happened, or earthquakes never happened, or if there were never storms, floods, and so forth, the earth could not continue as kind of the organism it is to allow us to survive. And so those things just have to happen. They're a result of natural law and the natural order of things. And we can get in the way of those, and we can suffer as a result of them. But primarily our suffering is a result of the choices that we make. And taking away our free will would be the only way to remove those choices and remove those things that could cause us harm, and therefore there is no way that we could learn and grow from life on Earth. The other thing about the difficulty that does occur on Earth in the scale of infinity, if we are immortal beings, which evidence certainly indicates we are, this time that we spend on Earth is not even a second. It's less than a second. And so the difficulty and problems that we experience here in the scale of an immortal existence are really minuscule. And if they are necessary in order for us to learn and grow to be better beings, then that's that's a gift. That's not something that is evil or something that is happening to us because of some God.
Do you believe? Go ahead.
No, I just say I was going to say, does that kind of help answer the question of suffering? Why is there suffering if there is an omnipotent creator?
What do you believe actually happens in life after death, then?
Well, according to, again, we have to use resources. We either can have the experiences ourselves if we're capable. If we're capable of having an out-of-body experience, if we have a near-death experience, if we speak to mediums, those are ways that we can access the realm that is beyond this physical and learn what life is on the other side. And according to those sources, it's a spiritual existence. We retain our personality, the same personality that we have here. The basic essence, the I, if you will, remains. And then we have the opportunity to learn and grow in that spiritual reality where there is really no such thing as time. And we have the opportunity to decide to come back to Earth or perhaps to another planet in an incarnation to learn and grow. But the ultimate objective is for us to grow, to become better people, to learn truth, to be closer to the truth, which, as I said, is the same thing as the Creator. And one of the things that I think is kind of interesting is that one of the difficulties of life is the losses we experience. The loss of friends, the loss of a pet, the loss of youth, and so forth. We experience a lot of losses in this life, and that's just a result of our physical existence. But those losses are just a temporary thing, and that's not the way that the true reality is. There are no losses, actually, in the real existence, which is on the other side, the non-physical reality, where friends, family, and so forth are always with us and are never lost. We only take temporary sojourns in our incarnations to learn and grow, and then we go back to that spiritual existence to learn and grow there. And that's what we are told by people who have been able to access that realm.
Mm-hmm. So do you?
It also. I just want to say, it just also tells us this terrible feeling of loss that we have, particularly as we grow older. We experience more and more losses. We can lose siblings. We lose our parents. We can lose mates. That terrible feeling of loss kind of tells us that Earth is an unnatural home, and that the more natural home is the spiritual realm where there is no loss.
So when it comes to time, if time is infinite, do we put too much pressure on the fact that we're always talking about time, running out of time? Everywhere we go, there's a clock on our phone, a wristwatch, everywhere, except Las Vegas casinos. That's where there's only no clocks at all to be found.
Is that right?
That's true.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, I think that, but that's a result of this physical reality where there's beginnings and ends, and it's this physical reality with all of its challenges that test us and give us the opportunity to exert our free will and our conscience and to grow and become better people. One of the things about conscience that is very interesting, that that people experience, especially as they grow older, is that those little things what we consider to be little things when we're young, that are against our conscience. Maybe we steal, or we bully someone, or we do something that at the time that we know is wrong. And when we're young, because we think we're going to kind of live forever when we're young, we think, well, that's not a big deal. That'll pass, and that'll just fade out of our memory even. But what we find out is that as we get older, the things that we do that are violations of conscience really stay with us and hang with us and torture us, if you will, and teach us that those are things that we shouldn't do. It's kind of an example of what people say it's like on the other side, that we go through a life review where we actually are able to experience our impact on other people. If we've done harm to other people, we get we experience the full impact of what we did to other people and feel their pain and so forth. That's what conscience gives us a glimpse of in this life, of what we should do and what we shouldn't do.
So with life after death, if we tie the two together, do you believe then that there is the ability for spirits, if we could call them that, or ghosts, or whatever you want to call, have the ability to parade around and cause hauntings and maybe not realize that they have crossed over to some other side?
Well, even now we know, even in our physical reality, we see people, who are exceptionally good and kind and good and decent people, and then we see people who we could classify as just evil, or less than good, for sure. When people die and they pass to the other side, they are still the same people and have the same qualities. And yes, the indication is that people can be mischievous. Some people, I understand, that are so convinced that once they die, that's all there is. They have a difficult time leaving the earth realm. They just can't believe that there is anything but the earth, and they end up here, perhaps as ghosts or haunting elements and so forth. But all of those sorts of things become possible once you understand that the spiritual reality is actually the more true reality. This physical earth reality is an illusion. The spiritual reality is the real reality, and in that reality there are people or spirits of all forms and shapes and different stage in ethical and spiritual development. Millions, perhaps trillions of souls and spirits exist there.
Does that include animals as well, in your opinion?
Yes, the indication is that they people who have out-of-body experiences or near-death experience and pass, see the light, pass through the tunnel and so forth, and see friends and family have also experienced pets that have passed.
So when you are looking into these claims, do you believe then in your research that the soul, which a lot of people believe, or some sort of energy from your body moves on to an afterlife? And is there some sort of reincarnation that happens elsewhere? Or do you believe that you just kind of sit in some sort of eternal resting place, like heaven, as the religious would believe.
That's not what the evidence indicates. That the heaven notion or just a comfortable rest. We are still active in intelligent beings with free will and my understanding. And again, this is something that I cannot conclude, so to speak, directly from science or from any direct experience I've had, but in looking at the information and the data and the research from people who have investigated near-death experiences and out-of-body experiences and mediumship and past life regressions and so forth, that whatever we do is our choice, even in the spiritual realm. It is our choice to come to Earth. It is our choice in terms of the parents that we have. It's our choice also to kind of script what this life is going to be like for us, in order to learn the lessons that we want to try to learn from earthly physical existence.
Doctor, we have about 90 seconds left with you tonight on Spaced Out Radio. And I want to give you a big thank you for coming on the show. I realize that, we could probably do about 8 hours and not barely scratch the surface of your topic, but I thought you did very, very well tonight in breaking everything down, the aspects between evolution, religion, and the paranormal life after death realm as well. Thank you so much for attending. Could you do me a favor? Make sure you give out all your contact information where people can find your books online or in bookstores.
Well, I think the best thing to do if the people are interested in these topics is just go to the asifthinkingmatters.com website, and from there they can listen to podcasts. They can go to the YouTube videos that we're doing. They can look at all of the writings and so forth that I've done on health and other topics. That would be the best source. And if they are interested in the book, they should try to get the second edition, which is not just a redo, but it's got a lot of the new information, and I've tried to simplify a lot of the things for people so it would be more digestible.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight, Doc. Really appreciate you taking the time. Dr. Randy Wysong, once again, his website, asifitmatters.com, if you want to check it on out. His book, Solving the Big Questions, As If Thinking Matters, Volume 2. Coming up next, we have Olaf Phillips and the SOR Newswire to round out the night. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio right after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social media freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, BUMBLEFOOT.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. Tonight we've rounded third. We are heading for home. And we get to the news of the day with the SOR Newswire, provided by Paranoia Magazine editor Olaf Phillips, who even has his own theme song. Yes, the president of Team Stump with his own theme song. Don't forget, we're going to put Team Stump t-shirts up on the new Spaced Out Radio store coming on up. But the news is always changing as we get to the weird, the wacky, the WTF, the news that will leave you scratching your head with Mr. Olaf Phillips from Paranoia Magazine. Olaf, how you doing, buddy? How was your weekend?
It was pretty exciting. How about yours?
It was magnificent, man. I had Mike Morin from Haunted Crew of Canada come on up for a couple of days. We went off into the wilderness to find our Zen, our Chi, look for a little bit of Bigfoot, saw nothing, got angry because we saw nothing, not even a deer. You know, honestly, we were in such dense wilderness, man, that I was waiting for like a grizzly bear or a big bull moose with the big, you know, rack of antlers. I was waiting for it. Didn't see it. I was heartbroken.
Well, this weekend I'm traveling up into the wilderness to look for UFOs and Bigfoot, so wish me luck.
Nice. Very nice. You're heading into the outskirts of Oregon.
No, not this time. I'm going into the Sierra Nevadas. This time it's
very
the Sierra
nice.
Nevada mountains. Yeah.
Well, if you see Joe and his luscious hair somewhere on the border in the Sierra Nevadas, just north of Beale Air Force Base, give him a wave. Say oob.
I will.
Yeah, that's all you got to do. Yeah. All you got to do is just, you know, remember the old Ricola commercials? Just put your hands out and just go, oob. Exactly. But that's just the way it works. Just the way it works. Yeah, we had a good time this weekend, man. The weather held out, and apparently next week, though, the temperature is supposed to drop, and the snow is coming.
Uh-oh. It wouldn't be Canada without snow.
You know what? I'll tell you what gets me excited about the snow coming. The lakes freeze. What happens when the lakes freeze? Old Davy will go out and will go outside in minus 20, 25 degree weather. I will set up a lawn chair on a lake, and I will take my boots off, put my hockey skates on, and I will take my little guy out to play some hockey on a lake. There is no better feeling. You can only do it for about 45 minutes or so to an hour. then your sweat starts getting cold, and then, it's time to go in. But honestly, there is nothing better. Nothing better than being outside, man, and skating outside and playing a little bit of shinny hockey.
I have to say, the best thing I've ever seen outside, besides horizontal lightning, was the northern lights, the aurora.
Yeah,
that was amazing.
Yeah, we get that probably 4 or 5 times a year right over SOR headquarters here, man. Last year though was the best I'd ever seen, and literally, like, we had every color that you can imagine dancing over top of our house. I tried to take pictures of it, but the pictures just did not do it justice. It was really too bad.
Somebody asked me to describe it, and it's like you can't really describe it. It's describeless. You can't. It's like light dancing. You just have to see it. Anyway.
Yeah. Would fully agree with you. My friend, what is new in the news that is weird, wacky, and will leave us scratching our heads saying, WTF?
This just in from UPI. Motorcycle cruises down highway without a rider.
Wow.
November 5th, a confused driver on a Singapore highway captured a video of an unusual sight. A motorcycle traveling down the road without a rider. The dashboard cam shows a motorcycle weaving back and forth inside its lane in front of the filmer's car on the expressway. We were on our way home entering the expressway when a riderless motorcycle came into our path. We were shocked and spooked initially, thinking it was post-Halloween, only to verify with the rider that he was flung off in an accident the filmer wrote. Many who watched the video commented, "Ghost Rider," they wrote.
Or was he wearing one of those invisible cloaking jackets or outfits?
There you go.
That's interesting. How far did the bike go? Did it eventually wipe itself out? Because obviously it would hit something or start slowing down and start to wobble.
It doesn't say how far it went. It just said that they captured it and there was video.
That is weird, man. You gotta wonder.
That's what you pay me for. Weird.
Oh man, I'm scratching my head. Did they say what happened to the rider?
He was flung off in an accident. Yeah, he fell off in an accident.
Okay, so it wasn't a ghost bike or something like that.
No, but still, the idea that he got flung off and it continued to ride down the freeway by itself is still a little strange.
No kidding. That would be so weird to see, man. That's where you just kind of pull over and or slow right down on the highway and you're like, nope, don't want any part of that. Do not want any part of that whatsoever. Thank goodness. Hopefully it didn't hurt anybody when the bike finally came to a stop.
I hope so. I hope it didn't hurt anybody.
Yeah, no kidding. Let's move on to story number 2 here, my friend.
Okay, story number 2. This comes in from the Mirror. We had kind of talked about Oumuamua, the mysterious interstellar asteroid before. I thought you'd find this interesting. Oumuamua, mysterious interstellar asteroid, could be giant artificial solar sail sent by aliens looking for life. Scientists at the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics believe Oumuamua, the first ever interstellar object spotted on our solar system, could be a giant light sail. The first ever interstellar object in the solar system might be an artificial light sail sent to look for signs of life, it's claimed. In a study released on Thursday, this was posted on November 3rd, astronomers at the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics published their observations of an interstellar object known as Oumuamua. According to the scientists, the rock, which is the first observed to enter our solar system from another, received an unexpected boost of speed as it passed through the inner solar system last year. Because the object seems to exhibit qualities associated with both asteroids and comets, the astronomers have speculated its unusual acceleration might be the result of a light sail of artificial origin being pushed by solar radiation. This study, could solar radiation pressure explain Oumuamua's peculiar acceleration, was conducted by Shmuel Bialy, a postdoctoral researcher at the CFA's Institute for Theory and Computation, and Professor Abraham Loeb, the director of the ITC, and Frank B. Baer Jr., professor of science at Harvard University. In the report, the astronomers wrote, considering an artificial origin, one possibility is that Oumuamua is a light sail floating in interstellar space as debris from an advanced technological equipment.
Isn't that a little bit of a reach, man? Like, we know nothing of this, and for people to be out there reporting that it's been sent by aliens.
Well, that's hard. We're not just anybody is saying that. The Smithsonian and Harvard is saying that. That's why it's significant. This isn't some dude who shows up and walks out of the garage with a tinfoil hat. I mean, this is Harvard University and the Smithsonian. That's a big deal. That's a big deal.
It is a big deal. You know, I'm wondering how much tinfoil is covering these universities in the Smithsonian right now. Even I'm not buying this, and I'm full on tinfoil.
I don't know, though. It did have a bizarre increase in speed that nobody's been able to explain. I mean, it did do some strange things while it was flying through our solar system. But just saying, it's weird, you know. I don't know. I think it's possible. I wouldn't rule it out.
Oh, I'm not ruling it out. I'm just saying it sounds far-fetched to me when it could be just some weird-looking asteroid.
Yeah, but it didn't behave like an asteroid. That's the problem. That's what nobody seems to be able to get past, is that it didn't work the way an asteroid was supposed to work. That's why these guys, and you know, I mean, they're putting their scientific credibility on the line, right? This isn't a bunch of UFO guys saying, oh, it could have been a solar sail. I mean, this is, you know, these guys are professors of astronomy and astrophysics coming out and saying that we may have actually seen, you know, what would be classified as legit proof of aliens. I mean, that's significant. That's a significant step for them to take.
Well, you know what? It is the first object from another solar system that we know of to come into ours. So, I mean, you would think that may have something to do with it. We don't know, but I think this is, even though I don't believe that it's an alien spacecraft, I do believe that it is quite significant in the history for astronomy and sciences, man. I really do.
Oh, absolutely. No matter how you cut it, it was a big deal. Ready for more?
All right. We got time for one more here.
Oh, good. Then you want this one. Dog shoots man. Oh, sorry. This is from ABC News. Dog shoots man. Man survives. Defends dog. He's a good dog. A dog named Charlie shot a man named Tex on the way to a jackrabbit hunt in the New Mexico desert. It went through my ribs, my lung, and busted up my collarbone on the right side, victim Tex Harold Gilligan told ABC News. I had a gaping hole, and a lot of blood there too, Gilligan said. I could see the blood, and I felt it, he said. Gilligan, 74, was left with 3 broken ribs, an injured lung, a broken collarbone, and 3 very agitated dogs. Charlie chief among them. Gilligan said that he loaded...
Why did the dog shoot him? Let's just be honest. Was he out of milk bones or what?
I'll skip that part. Charlie, a 120-pound Rottweiler mix, got his foot in the trigger of the gun, caught the trigger, and blasted a shot at the unsuspecting owner, who said that at first he thought he had been hit by a sniper from a distance. I thought, who was that? Gilligan told ABC News. I was there, isolated, nobody was around. So apparently the dog basically tripped over the guy's gun and shot him with it.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Well, you know, the dog obviously had a vendetta. And I bet you it was probably due to its spay or neutering. You know, my dog, Doug, literally the day after we got him neutered, he literally tore apart my couch and my favorite chair. My favorite couch, my favorite chair. Ripped them apart. And I know it was revenge. I can't even be mad.
Knew what you did to him.
Oh, yeah. I can't even be mad at the guy. I mean, it was upsetting. It was. Coming home, my favorite chair, you know, my recliner that everybody was banned from, except me, because I always wanted a dad chair. Yeah. Yeah.
It was a real dad chair, huh?
It was a dad chair. Yeah. And the dog was like, oh, I'm going to... He shredded it. And I was like, you.
But can you blame him?
Well, looking back on it, absolutely not. No. Absolutely not.
So there you go. You got a story about a dog who shoots his owner and the owner defends him.
All I'm saying is, if this went to court of law, it's tit for tat, man. It's tit for tat.
Well, the police were investigating it as an accidental shooting.
Well,
just so you know.
Perfect.
I don't know if it was accidental, though.
Let's get to the thought of the day, shall we?
Let's do it.
Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where we post a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages and then read your responses on the air, because we love audience participation around these parts. So today's Thought of the Day is as follows. Let's get to it, shall we? Name and explain one thing you'd change within the paranormal field. How about you, Olaf? We'll give you first crack at this.
You know, I think I would make it more open and inclusive. You know, in the paranormal world and ufology and conspiracy theory, you know, I think there are too many people who build walls and they try to build little empires and to access the ATM machine of their followers. And I think I'd make it a little more open and inclusive with a lot more collaboration.
All right, that's actually pretty good. Let's get to our audience here, shall we? Matthew says a general consensus on how investigators should be handled and a sharing of information, essentially the creation of a paranormal scientific method and a peer review base. With everyone using their own methods, no conclusions can be effectively reached. But Jim counters on that, and he says, people in their own methods are what is making leaps and bounds. Rules and specific methods are for followers, and who cares what others are getting? Make your own path. Gail states, I would change the willy-nilly way investigators claim to be qualified to call themselves by that title. How about a unified system of education, training, and experience to earn that status, approved by a legitimate board of professional investigators? Everyone else then would be known for what they are, amateurs. That's a good point. I'm on that side. Yeah, that's the Team Stump side right there. Cogswell, you know Cogswell around here. He says, I would love to see it become less exploitative. Trixie? What I would change in the paranormal field? I would remove the veil and allow anyone who wants to see it all. She's going a little zen on us there. Robert says fighting. I don't know what that means. It's hockey season, so is that 5 in a game? Just a 5-minute major penalty? What are we talking about here? What if the gloves don't come off, Robert? That's what I want to know. Is it still fighting? I never believed it was. unless the gloves come off. Zuger, more science, less BS and crazy people. Well,
I agree with that.
Would be, yeah, sums it up nicely there. Let's see, David. Can't we all just get along? Exactly. BK, take away the commercialization of it. Present the crazy infighting that goes on within the field. See, the commercialization, I don't agree with that. I really don't. I think there's a lot of paranormal investigators out there who are very, very jealous that they haven't made it to television.
I think that's part of the problem.
I would agree. We got time for one more here. John, less competition and more cooperation. Without the infighting and ego trip, maybe people could take the field more seriously. I think that's a good way to end it. Tell everybody where they can find Paranoia Magazine, bud.
ParanoiaMagazine.com, Paranoia Magazine on Facebook, Paranoia Mag on Twitter, and Paranoia Mags on Instagram.
Isn't that beautiful? And, of course, you could find all of Spaced Out Radio's news led by Captain Shirk. All you got to do is go on to spacedoutradio.com, click on the news section. Olaf, we will talk to you tomorrow night, my friend.
I'll be here.
All right. We want to say thank you to Dr. Randy Wysong for coming on and letting us interview him tonight. Don't forget, his website is ifitmatters.com if you want to check him on out. Tomorrow night on the program, familiar voice Geraldine Orozco is back with The Spiritual You, starting at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, in your cars, at work, wherever you may be. A special thank you to everybody on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio, in Spreaker, the SOR Space Travelers, yes, the Veterans Club, and on Rev Radio. Thanks for sharing the show, telling your friends to make us better and bigger every single night. Because together, my friends, we own the night. I will talk to you in 21 hours from now. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Good night.